just a bit. 6:02.
A man is behind bars in Augusta after being accused of touching himself while watching nearby kids play. Deputies arrested 60-year-old Dennis Jennings over the weekend. He's charged with 6 counts of non-aggravated child molestation. They say the children involved were ages 7 to 13 years old. Richmond County investigators say this is not the first report against Jennings. Your Taylor Morton joining us live in our newsroom this morning with more on those previous incidents and what led up to the latest one, Taylor.
Well, Ashley, reports show the sheriff's office has responded to similar issues with Jennings dating back to April of 2023. Nearly 2 months ago, Jennings was arrested and charged with public indecency. He was released on a 12-month probation, but neighbors say that didn't solve the problem. It only made it worse. But investigators tell us that video evidence plays a key role in investigations like this. Deputies say the only way to arrest him was to catch him in the act. Now, a graphic video of the incident taken by one of the children has circulated on social media, but neighbors say getting it wasn't easy.
I never could get a good video because he'll always get up or move or stop doing what he was doing once the kids came and told me.
Now, investigators say they see 15 to 20 cases like this a week, and it all comes down to that video.
All right, thanks for that, Taylor. We appreciate you live in our newsroom this morning.
Leaders in Aiken are setting up a plan to combat the rising number of opioid overdose deaths. They're working on this 18-year plan through funding as the opioid crisis impacts everybody near and far. South Carolina's Department of Health has data going back to 2022 showing a rise in overdose deaths at the state level. Here at home, the Aiken Center is doing what it can to break any barriers. The center's executive director says 2 years ago, Aiken County lost 100 people. Last year, that number was cut in half.
We're tackling it more successfully, and I give lots of credit to first responders who are out there with Narcan, because we still have lots of overdoses. It's just that they're living. The people are less likely to die now, and we have people who are more aware of what Narcan is.
The Aiken Center teams up with multiple organizations to make a difference. Its next step is to visit schools so staffers can teach kids about the dangers of drugs.
We're learning more about an escaped inmate that was caught in Richmond County. Thomas Wright escaped the Emmanuel Probation Detention Center Sunday and stole a white Chevy Tahoe in Candler County. From there, Georgia State Patrol says he drove into Richmond County. Yesterday morning, law enforcement tried to stop him. Officials say that the car was identified through the use of flock cameras.
Computer systems and law enforcement databases, and had everybody in the region looking out for it. And eventually it was located in Richmond County, where the vehicle was located and the subject was arrested.
State troopers say that Wright was arrested without incident and taken to the hospital for minor injuries. He now faces multiple charges in Emmanuel County, Candler County, and with Georgia State Patrol involving his escape and stolen vehicle.
We're also learning more about a fire on Irene Street in North Augusta. Fire officials say Sunday afternoon the blaze was started by a pan of grease that was left unattended on the stove. Firefighters were able to contain the damage to the kitchen area and an attic space above.
For those living in Screven County, if you have to call for a sheriff's deputy, you need to call 911. The Screven County Sheriff's Office is no longer using its own office to dispatch calls. For non-emergencies, you can call the number on your screen right there. It is 912-564-2826.
A South Carolina man is under arrest in connection to threats made against President Donald Trump.
Some moments are too perfect for words. A love so true, a night so magical. At Windsor Jewelers, we help you find the ring that tells your love story. A ring as timeless as your forever. Because when the moment is right, only the perfect ring will do. Windsor Jewelers, where forever begins.
At certain 8-degree range that we're going to enjoy for the next few days. 6:31 our time.
An Augusta man is behind bars after an incident on Brussels Street over the weekend.
60-year-old Dennis Jenkins was arrested Saturday after being accused of touching himself while watching children playing in his neighbor's yard.
Jennings is charged with 6 counts of non-aggravated child molestation. Deputies say 6 kids were involved, ranging in age from 7 to 13 years old.
Now, since his arrest, we have learned this is not the first time that Jennings has been having a run-in with authorities. authorities. Your Taylor Martin joining us now live in the newsroom with what led to deputies making progress in this case.
Well, a graphic video of the incident taken by one of the children has circulated on social media, and in investigations like this, authorities say getting it on video plays a key role. There were several reported incidents with Jennings dating back to April of 2023, and nearly 2 months ago, Jennings was arrested and charged with public indecency. He was released on a 12-month probation, but neighbors say that didn't solve the problem, but only made it worse. Deputies say the only way to arrest him was to catch him in the act.
Everybody talks about everything on social media. We find out about crimes we didn't even know about. So we reach out to victims and try to get a hold of them and say, hey, did this happen to you? And we can go from there.
Neighbors say it wasn't easy getting the video.
All right, thank you for following this for us, Taylor, live in our newsroom this morning. We appreciate it.
Some breaking news here just into the newsroom this morning. Richmond County deputies responded to an accident on Riverwatch Parkway at Sterling Road. An investigation finds one driver was driving the wrong way on Riverwatch Parkway, hitting another car head on.
2 people in the vehicle hit were taken to the hospital for serious injuries. Officials do say alcohol was a contributing factor to the crash, and an arrested Annette Abrams is charged with serious injury by motor vehicle, DUI, driving on the wrong side of the road, and driving with an open container.
Opioid deaths are still at high levels in South Carolina, but leaders in Aiken are working to bring that down, creating an 18-year plan to help stop drug overdoses through the Aiken Center, partnering with multiple organizations in the hope to make a difference in people's lives.
With the COVID pandemic, the opioid use became the pandemic within the pandemic. So you saw these numbers of drug overdose deaths just climb during those COVID years and continue to climb. In Aiken County in 2023, we lost 100 people to accidental overdose deaths just in Aiken County, and so 2 a week.
Leaders say in 2024 that number was nearly cut in half. They credit that reduction to the increased numbers of first responders with Narcan responding to overdoses. The Aiken Center is also working to set up support specialists in jails and detention centers. They say the next step is to teach kids in schools about the dangers of drugs and overdoses.
We're learning more details about a shooting that put a homeless man in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Richmond County deputies say 27-year-old Alania Bottoms shot a man last month. An incident report states that heard a woman calling for help on Tuttle Street. She told deputies that he came over to her yard to tell her that he had been shot. Bottoms was arrested on Friday, charged with aggravated assault. Authorities say they're also looking for Skylar Kennedy for giving false statements in a government matter in this case.
The McDuffie County Sheriff's Office added flock cameras recently, which has given them new ways to fight crime and coordinate faster with other counties.
Well, a lot of times when we get called out and investigators on the scene and we have just minimum information, our road patrol deputies can get in their cars and their MDTs and start typing away, start already trying to solve that piece of the puzzle. If somebody gives us a possible description, well, I saw a black Dodge Challenger come down here. That's when I heard the shots fired. So these guys are really essential for helping us and helping us solve these crimes.
Officials say even though criminals will work to get around the flock cameras, they're confident those criminals will be caught in the end.
We've learned the name of the victim in a 2-car collision in Vanderbilt County. That crash happened early Saturday morning on McKenna Lane. 23-year-old Damian Hyatt was identified as the driver of one of the vehicles who died at the scene. Officials say a sedan was driving on US 78 when it went off the right side, hit a mailbox, and went back onto the road. It left again and hit the right side before hitting a tree. At the same time, Hyatt was driving an SUV that went off the right side, hitting the sedan.
The city of Savannah is suing nearly 60 companies for allegedly dumping chemicals into the Savannah River.
Weather around. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. Middle 70s at the end of the weekend. 6:45.
All right, thanks, Tim. They wear the badge and take an oath to protect and serve. But at the end of their career, some in law enforcement don't think they're getting back what they've put in.
And that's partly because Georgia doesn't have a statewide retirement plan for them. However, I spoke with one local chief who was pushing to change that.
When Grovetown Police Chief Jamie Kitchen isn't leading his officers, he's scratching his head. The state of Georgia does not have a state law enforcement retirement. I don't mean just for state employees, I mean for law enforcement in general. And the issue and the reason I brought this up is every state that touches Georgia does.
Something he says doesn't add up.
For those of us in law enforcement, and have been in law enforcement, I'm approaching 3 decades myself, this has always been something that has been repeatedly shot down or dismissed. Anytime it's been brought up, it's been, oh, that's never going to happen in Georgia.
Kitchen says there are plenty of models for state lawmakers to look into.
We're not reinventing the wheel. Go to any one of these states around here and ask them how you doing.
And District 125 Representative Gary Richardson agrees.
I think the average citizen probably is not even aware that there's not a statewide retirement plan.
As the legislative session continues, so will Representative Richardson's push for a statewide law enforcement retirement plan.
I am interested in seeing why we're not there. What is the issue? What is the holdup?
Kitchen says agencies are fighting to hire and retain qualified employees.
So if there has ever been a time to come to the table and say, what can we do to recruit these folks and bring folks back to law enforcement, offer something up that makes people say, you know what, I can do 25 years and then I can still retire as a young person, a fairly young man or young woman, and go do something else if I want to.
Ashley Campbell on your side. Now, there is the Peace Officer Annuity and Benefit Fund that is for all law enforcement in the state. After 30 years, you get $950 per month when you retire. The Georgia Sheriff's Association tells me that it is for the retirement fund. However, it says that it comes down to having funding to kickstart it and then keep it going. Meanwhile, Grovetown City Council meeting last night